So we have talked in past episodes about the different way we look at the purpose of business. We're always trying to encourage you to not see the purpose of business in that old school way of profit maximization or an obsession with shareholder value maximization, but to instead come back to a focus on value and to be thinking about it related to 3 areas. How do you know the value that you bring as an organization? How do you understand the value that your customers actually want from you? And then how do you capture value in return? So those 3 aspects of value are the things that we want you to focus on as the central elements for that purpose of business. What happens when you do that is that you actually set things up so that your mind, when you design your business model and when you interact, is always looking to be able to say, how do we deliver results and then drive revenue in return? So the gestures I'm making, I always in my mind can see a business model canvas. And so I'm thinking, okay, from that back end of your business, you're trying to make sure you're delivering your value proposition to a customer so that it can actually get results. And then what will happen when that occurs is then it drives revenue into that bottom right-hand side of your business model canvas. So that's the framing that I want you to have in your mind as you go into this episode and be thinking about the purpose of business. It's not about profit maximization. Profit's not bad, but that isn't the place that I want your mind to kind of stay focused on. Instead, know yourself, your organization, understand your customers, and then be able to actually capture value into your business model in an unapologetic way. The reason why this is important when we think about this overarching idea of learning to merge money and meaning is that some of the discomfort that can come if we are wanting to reject that old paradigm of profit maximization, we can fall into a trap of feeling a little bit uncomfortable then about a business growing or us being incredibly profitable or making money in the process. And I don't want you to feel that discomfort. When you have this idea of the purpose of business that I've just described to you as the way you think about the business you are building and operating, you don't need to have that discomfort because you only make more money, your business only grows on the back of you delivering more value. And so no longer is there that connection between profit and growth of the business being tied to some kind of shady dealing or uncomfortableness around, was someone exploited, or did I reduce my costs to such an extent that I was actually taking advantage of my customers? That isn't part of how you operate the business. So you are then much more able to, in that comfortable way we want to move you into, merge money and meaning and have a business that you're proud of. I want to run you through an example of a business that's doing this and how it actually helps strengthen your business model in this beautiful self-reinforcing loop where you start to be able to make more money on the back of actually adding more value in the world and having more meaning and purpose in the core business activities. So the example I'm going to use is a company called Media to Millions. If you go back to episode 30, I interviewed the wonderful Dr Avis Jones-DeWeaver, so you can hear a bit more about her story. But she is a wonderful example of someone who has an incredibly impactful business model, really embedding in an intentional way the focus on a customer and getting great outcomes for them. So her business is a boutique consulting firm that is committed to normalizing Black abundance. In amongst their work in terms of helping people with their businesses and their career growth and strategy, they're trying to build up that next generation of Black millionaires. And Dr Avis's vision is to create 1 million Black women millionaires through her business. Now, what is interesting is, and over the next few weeks as we pull apart different components of merging money and meaning, you will see this play out where there needs to be clarity in a few key areas. So Dr Avis is really clear on who it is she's actually focused on creating those great outcomes and transformations for, which is an important place to start the issues she's trying to address. She has a history in terms of some of that origin story and context of working in government and nonprofits. But what she realized was that in America, Black women are the number one demographic to actually start businesses. But when you look at the data around how much those businesses are making, the typical Black woman-owned business is only making around $24,000 a year, which obviously is just not even vaguely enough to sustain the effort going into that and supporting a family and even an individual. And so Dr. Avis's work was to shift out of that nonprofit government space and the work that she had been doing around policy, and instead to say, how could she use her business in this way of having the purpose of business being around knowing the value that she's adding, understanding the value her customers need, and then capturing value in return. She shifted her focus to really look at how could she have the biggest impact. And the research showed that particularly for the Black community in America, the thing that moves the needle the most with regards to closing the racial wealth gap is not educational attainment, it's entrepreneurship. That aspect, therefore, is at the heart of what she's focused on delivering to her customers and equipping them to strengthen those skills and to run their own business and to go out on their own as an entrepreneur. And what it has allowed her to do in having that clarity around what is actually needed, understanding the value that her customers need, and understanding the skill sets that she brings through her business, when she brings those together or marries those, she's able to create that vision that she has, which is she wants to make the biggest impact possible and use her business as the vehicle to allow her to do that. So because in Media to Millions, Dr. Avis is able to really nail adding an amazing amount of value, knowing the skill sets that her and her team bring, deeply understands her customers and is delivering amazing results for them. The capturing value in return piece, so the driving of revenue into her model, is a natural flow-on impact from that work. What you will also see in this model, now in each of your businesses, this is going to look slightly different, but when we take this as a bit of a case study, an example of how we can actually, by merging money and meaning, we end up strengthening the business in the overarching sense. So we can have more purpose, the achievement and delivery of better outcomes in the world, and be part of something that we care about, which Dr. Avis is doing, but we can also unapologetically make money in the process. What occurs in her business is that actually there's this great relationship between the price point she charges, because she is adding so much value, and there is zero doubt or question of whether people who engage with her and follow through, obviously there's always an aspect where your client has to do some of the work, you can't do it for them, but for those who engage with her, take on board what she is training them in, the results are so significant and massively change their lives, and not just their own lives, but from a generational sense, the opportunities for their families. What it means is that she can actually charge a pretty significant high price point. And merging money and meaning, and when we really start to get comfortable about the unapologetic side of both, when someone knows that they are actually paying a pretty serious amount of money to engage with you, it increases the skin in the game, if you like. And so one of the things that Dr. Avis has realized is that that level of commitment and investment that a customer has to make not only makes the feasibility and viability of her business model work, because she has to be able to do some pretty significant heavy lifting on the back end of her business that costs money in terms of people and skill set, but it also increases the chance that someone is going to show up, do the work, push through and implement. So you can see that in any of the work we're doing, as we're merging money and meaning and we're connecting it back into our business model, we're always wanting to do these pieces not as disconnected things of like, I'm going to do one thing over here and then a totally different thing over here. We're integrating it all. And wherever you can build out the business model in a way where you design it so that something is mutually reinforcing. So where you get a better outcome for a customer and a better outcome for the business through the decisions you're making. That's the kind of model that we want to be building out. And as I said, I would encourage you to go back and listen to episode 30 and look up some of what Dr Avis is doing. But a beautiful example within this small and medium-sized space that we're all working on, how you can actually merge money and meaning in a way that is based on a view or a belief around the purpose of business that is a complete game changer and doesn't in any way undermine the financial stability of your business, allows you to build something sustainable over time that's adding more value in the world and also capturing value in return.